hurtful because of this holiday and how many people lives were given for this holiday to exist, to see lives taken this way, to see this happening after such a wonderful day yesterday with the opening of the library and everything, and to have a night like this with just shooting and mayhem and tragedy.
Again, I want to acknowledge again the incredible harm and trauma that gun violence has promulgated, not just throughout the city of Chicago, but throughout our country. It is incredibly disappointing and disheartening that the President of the United States of America has worked overtime to defund the very institutions that can keep people safe.
The ATF, because going after guns and drugs and gangs is something that concerns me, just like it does local residents who are affected by those factors.
I sat in this very seat and I warned you that Juneteenth is historically one of the most violent days for whatever reason in the city of Chicago. You dismissed that. I asked you if Donald Trump, the President of the United States, if you would reach out to him for some kind of help or assistance. You dismissed that. You said that you're the mayor, right? You said that Donald Trump was a massive failure or something to that effect.
Yo, what is good, YouTube? Welcome back to A Conservative Libertarian. Alright, I know I said I wasn't gonna do multiple uploads in one day, but like I said, I think this is probably a better method, like a shorter form videos or like kind of straight to the content. Trying to figure out different ways to, make my engagement better. You know what I'm saying? I look at the analytics, so I'm really paying attention to those to make sure that you guys are actually getting enjoyment and are sticking around for the entire video, so that way you guys can actually see the debates and the conversations that are happening, that are being taken place on the platform, right? So we're not gonna do a lot of talking, we're just gonna get right into the video. So we got Mr. Stephen A. He does this little thing where he has Republicans or people who are conservatives come onto the panel, and he'll have Democratic people or liberals or progressive minded people come onto the platform, and they'll basically battle it out between different type of topics that are going on within the world, society, and whether or not the conservative or the progressive ideology is more aligned with where America is at today, right? So we're gonna go ahead and get into this video. We have Anton Daniels, who is a conservative, and we also have Tharon Johnson. I'm guessing he's a Democrat liberal operative, right? So let's go ahead and get into the video without further ado. Let's go.
Let me get right to it, because obviously, Tharon, you're a liberal. Anton's unapologetically conservative. Both y'all have stated the state of Black America right now in the United States. What would you say it is right now? I'll start with you, Tharon.
I think the state of Black America right now, Stephen A., is one that's fluid. And
what's up with this guy's camera, bro? I'm streaming at what, 1080p. I'm pretty sure this guy has more money than me, right? And I'm not trying to glaze him or anything, because he bald headed, and I still got hair. no offense to my G's with the bald head, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying. But I would think he has more money than me. It looks like he has a decently put together setup, but he can't get a decent webcam. I'm like, what the fuck?
your words, but it's something that we need to all be focused on, because as we sit here right now in the United States of America, we know that Black unemployment is high, and we care about a lot of the issues that white, Hispanic, and Asian people care about. And here they are in this order. Number one, we want to be able to be safe. We have allowed the Republicans and others to say that we don't believe in law and order. And I'm here to tell you that that's not true. Number two is that we want our children to have an opportunity, particularly our Black children, to have an opportunity to go to schools, whether it's private schools or public schools. But then when you get into healthcare, and we know the alarming rates of people with diabetes, people who have heart conditions, and even mental illness in Black people right now. Just studies have shown that young Black people right now are committing suicides at a higher rate than we've ever seen before. So I think the state of Black America right now is struggling. I think that some of us are prosperous, but some of us are actually not bringing enough people along with us. And then lastly, I think that we have to make sure that for those of us that have been blessed to have an opportunity to have a good paying job, to have a family structure, there's a lot of folks out here, particularly kids, depending on what zip code you're born in, will determine your actual pathway to success. A lot of folks in Atlanta and places around the country are being born below the poverty line. And if you don't have that family structure in place, access to quality paying jobs, and also healthcare, we as Black Americans, we got to do better.
A lot of that I feel him, but a lot of that comes down to decisions, right? A lot of women and just couples in general are having kids out of wedlock. And I'm not saying I did the same thing, but the difference is that I'm actually with my woman, okay, and I plan on getting married, right? So I'm not going anywhere, unlike some of these guys and some of these girls who go out here having kids and then fostering babies, but then not wanting to actually take care of the kids, right? Or if not anything, aborting the kid, which we've seen the abortion rates of children, Black children specifically. And I find this hilarious because they will never call out like areas where a lot of Black people tend to, get murdered or, by their own race, right? Which most, disputes or any type of murder typically happens within an interracial dynamic, typically. But at the same time, too, they don't address those issues. They want to address things that are systemic, which you can talk about those issues if you want to, but until you fix the problems that is happening within your own home, I don't think the external issues are going to be even worth a damn to even worry about if we can't fix what's happening inside our homes, right? We have to bring back the strong families. We have to bring back the nuclear families, right? That's why, I'm saying I'm very critical of myself to be a very present father towards my kids. I'm saying I want to be there so that way they know they have a strong father in their life and that, they're loved and they're cared for. Like I said, a lot of these kids don't have daddies. And it shows, especially with the millennials and Gen Zs, a lot of these kids and a lot of these younger adults going into their 30s or becoming adults, they never had a father in their life, never had an actual role model, don't know what it means to be a man, don't know what it means to be a woman. So people are just out here living their lives in limbo, and they actually don't know who they are, really. You know what I'm saying? And they're being influenced by the internet and culture norms that are slowly ripping away the fabric of our society. So I mean, he has some points, but at the same time, no.
And before I get to Anton, who do you hold most culpable for the state of affairs involving Black America at this point in time?
I think it's a combination of a lot of different things, but it's a confluence of the lack of leadership on the federal level, starting with President Trump.
Incredible. These people, bro, I'm sorry. I'm busting out right now. I'm sorry. But bro, I'm kind of still sick too. So if I'm like, I have no words. Bro. You could just see the expression on my face.
And then I think the second part of it is that we've got to be more emboldened to hold the elected officials accountable. I
agree with that. You need to be holding Brandon Mayor Johnson accountable. You need to be holding all these liberal, progressive, democratically ran cities and states. Yeah, you need to start holding these people accountable. Like I said, they need to start talking about themselves, not about Trump, because Trump can't control what's happening in your city, right? He can probably sign legislation, but he can't control like the outcomes, you know what I'm saying, of the people there. The people there are choosing their own outcomes most of the time. You know what I'm saying? That's what free will is there for. You know what I'm saying? We are granted freedom to be able to make our own choices. So if we're making the wrong choices, how is that the president's fault?
Can't just come in our communities and tell us things that we want to hear. We got to make sure that when we elect you, particularly Black women, who is the backbone of the Democratic Party, we got to make sure that we hold them accountable, and not just Democrats. We got to get into those rooms with Republicans too, and don't let them off the hook. So I think it's a confluence of a lack of leadership on the federal and state level, but also making sure we hold our Black leaders more accountable to make sure that they deliver on what they promised us.
Agreed.
Anton, when I would ask
it's not
you
about
the same
Trump.
question.
It's just not about Trump. It's not about Trump. Okay. I agree with that last part. It's just not about Trump.
What do you believe the state of Black America to be at this particular moment in time? Who do you hold most culpable for it?
I'm not sure exactly what he means by fluid. And I'm assuming that he defined that based off of the different parameters by which he spoke about the Black community. However, I think I agree with him, except for I would describe it as in shambles. Worse off than we've ever been, freer than we've ever been. And the fact that we're willing to blame Trump, although we've had decades of opportunities, Black cities, You look at some of the blackest cities in the United States of America. Memphis, for example, is in shambles and they needed Trump's help. And I think that there's a lack of accountability and victimhood. And as long as we continue to promote that it's somebody else's fault, you know, I was looking at Juneteenth in Chicago, right? And you had over
Brandon Mayor Johnson.
7 people killed and 36 people shot. And while we were focusing on whether or not Asians and white people, whether it's Carmelo Anthony or Cyrus Carmack, is responsible and if they should go to jail or not, in every city across America, especially where predominantly black people live, you don't have to kill each other, but there's drive-bys and there were over 113 shell casings where 12 people were shot on Juneteenth itself. And so when I look at the state of the black community, it has nothing to do with the political landscape. It has everything to do with self-accountability, regardless of whether or not you're picking the right curriculum, if you want to go to college or you want to go to community college. Healthcare, I don't think that we're concerned about it. Self-care, I don't think that we're concerned about it. And more importantly, I think that we're more concerned about self-care with regard to promoting ourselves in a culture that's the worst for us versus taking accountability for the state that we have ourselves in. We don't have to have children out of wedlock. We don't have to put ourselves at a disadvantage, and we don't have to have children in poverty. And we have more technological advantages as far as research and understanding of the past than we've ever had before. But for some reason, we're still worse off when we continue to vote the same way while requesting nothing from politicians and letting women lead us to the polls. And that is the direct result. You're seeing it transpire inside of the black community.
One of the things that I got to ask you about, Anton, is that, you know, so many times we see things from an historical perspective. We see the Civil Rights Act of 1964. We see the Voting Rights Act of 1965. We see policy that has been implemented to address the unfairness and the inequity that exists within our system. I do understand when people look at it in this day and age and say, look, we're a lot better off than we were before. Let's stop acting like that. But there are, I think one of the things that concerns me about folks with the conservative tilt is that there's this notion, sometimes people act like it never existed. There was never a problem. These things never needed to be addressed. It's basically just about pulling yourself by your own bootstraps and going from there without really addressing the fact that the inequity that exists in our system, it's always been something that the black community has had to battle against. And sometimes you hear conservatives talk and some of them sound like, yo, that's not true at all. What do you say to that?
I don't see any inequities. I was born in the blackest large city in the United States of America. Everybody knows that. Detroit, Michigan, still here, born and raised, contribute to my community. And there's just some very basic fundamentals that we lack that has nothing to do with the history of this country, right? We're in 2026 and there's people that come over here with absolutely nothing. There's Africans, right? Illegal and legal immigrants that have come into this country and done exceptionally well, right? And so when I start to have this conversation, there's really 2 different types of black people, right? And I'm not going to use the word to describe the other type of black people, but
I know what word he's talking about. I know what word he's talking about. Yo, based. So based, bro.
There's people that continue to hold on to the victim Olympics, and I've never experienced slavery in my 44 years on this earth. And so the expectation for my father was I had a greater calling for my life, and that's what I leaned into. I leaned into my religious beliefs. I leaned into my community. I leaned into my schoolwork. I leaned into taking accountability. I leaned into working hard, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week. And as long as you are doing what you're supposed to do, there are no limits. And so I don't see the inequity, right? That is a word that is used in order to make an excuse for why you're not doing what you're supposed to do. We don't have any excuse for why we go into prison. We don't have any excuse for why we continue to commit crimes. And we don't have any excuse for why we continue to not enroll in the curriculums that's going to pay us the most money. Every time you go into a college campus, everybody is in business, marketing, and communications. Nobody is going in any STEM fields. And every time I see a woman go into anything school related, it's always to be a nurse. I don't understand. I really genuinely don't understand. We're the most educated, we're the most enrolled, not even the most educated. We're the most enrolled, but we're the most in debt. And so we have insight and information on how we can make better decisions, but we lack the discipline and we lack the wherewithal to actually make those decisions and be conscious enough to see it through. And so I don't believe in that. And I believe the fact that people continue to try to make it seem like we're behind the 8 ball is enabling us to continue to go further down this drain. And the minute that we start holding ourselves accountable, holding ourselves, we don't need Trump. You don't need Barack Obama. I seen them making their speech about hope again. And I respect you, Tharon, for the work that you did with the Obama campaign in the South. But we don't need anybody to sell us anything or to give us anything. We can take everything that we want if we really want it.
Facts. Facts. Bro, it's all about what you're willing to sacrifice, bro. And the thing is, and this is the thing, I could have easily went down that same pipeline, right? I could have easily went down the criminal pipeline, the drug dealer pipeline. I did most of that stuff. Went to jail, sell drugs, had guns, dealing with people who could be affiliated with some type of gang ties. Stuff like I've been around that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So I have been able to absorb it and been able to actually come to a reasonable decision whether or not that was actually what I wanted to do. And to be honest, it just never gravitated towards me. I was just never that guy, right? Being tough and, slinging dope and trying to be that guy, trying to have that aura around you that you're not to be messed with is actually a call for invitation to be fucked with. That people will try you if they believe that you're fraudulent. Right. And that's how, shootings happen. That's how fights happen. That's how people lose their lives. Right. That's just how every time. And even now where the black community props up inside the music industry, you know what I'm saying? With the gang music, the drill scene, all this stuff. And you're seeing it today where everybody's getting, most of the drill rappers are getting arrested, put in jail, or they're getting killed. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what type of society do I want my kids to be brought in where violence is the other option or selling dope is the other option? No, I don't want that to be the option at all, right? I want my child to have multitude of options that don't consist of them leading a criminal lifestyle, right? I want them to be free from that, right? I want them to be free from that. But for some reason in the black community, our culture is embedded with that. It is like, no, I don't want to be involved in that, nor do I want to be associated with it anymore. So the faster it can die, the quicker and better the black community can be better off, right? We can be better off without the violence. Like I remember listening to the music back in the 90s and stuff like that. It wasn't this violent. Like back in the 80s music, 90s music, like there was a lot more love, prosperity, hope being brought into music. Like Whitney Houston and, all these different artists who came from that time frame, that generation, Michael Jackson, all these different amazing artists who changed the culture entirely. But now it seems like the culture, now it seems like the biggest pop stars that we're putting on a platform to even represent black people is people like Megan Thee Stallion and Doja Cat, Cardi B, Kendrick Lamar, people like Lil Durk and, G Herbo, which like I said, I don't really have a problem with most of these people, but I have a problem with they sell to their audience, you know what I'm saying? And I may listen to that music from time to time or whatever. Yeah, I listen to Drake, you know what I'm saying? But Drake is the most, probably like lukewarm version of like a gangster rap person, you know what I'm saying? He's a pop star. He's a pop rap star, right? You know what I'm saying? So there's a fine line that he can play with, right? I actually can align more with him than I can align with someone, like a King Von, right? You know what I'm saying? It may be good to listen to his music. The cadence might be good to listen to, but what he's actually saying is very violent. And if you know the history, right? So yeah, like I said, I can agree with Anton saying. Like I said, I didn't really hear much. I didn't want to get much into the whole entire video because this video is like a whole hour long, right? But yeah, guys, if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you leave a thumbs up, comment down below, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. We're gonna try to do this every day. So yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one, man. Peace.